And has been a workhorse, 5 TDs in the postseason, almost 450 yards, in addition to 2K in the regular season. And get this, heading into Super Bowl 59, Barkley is 29 yards away from breaking Terrell Davis' single-season rushing record set back in 1998. Of course, this number combines regular and postseason rushing yards. It's time now for our Super Bowl 59 fill-in-the-blank segment as we bring in CBS Sports NFL writers Tyler Sullivan and John Breach. And first one, gentlemen, has to do with the Eagles star running back. So Saquon Barkley should get blank touches in this game. Tyler, I'll start with you.
I would want to say infinity, right? But if you have to give me a round number or a definitive number, I go 25. You have to give him as many touches as you possibly can in this game because he is not just a running back, right? He's not just someone where you have to just, okay, feed him the rock. He's a playmaker. He's someone who, again, as you referenced, had 2,000 yards during the regular season rushing, is liable to take that one touch on the first play of the game and take it 60 yards to the house, as we saw in the NFC Championship. So the more the Philadelphia Eagles can get the ball in Saquon Barkley's hands, the better. It's not going to be the easiest of tasks because the Kansas City Chiefs have overall been pretty good against the run this season, but in the playoffs, been a little bit more leaky. It was about 100 yards rushing on average they allowed during the regular season. That's up to around 140, 150. So if they can exploit what seems to be a kind of a decreasing run defense for the Kansas City Chiefs, you're talking about Saquon Barkley ending this ridiculous season, possibly hoisting a Lombardi trophy.
Tyler, I'm actually going to go a little bit of the opposite here. I'm not going to go up to 25 and say the Eagles should give infinity carries to Saquon Barkley. I'm going to go down to 20 because, look, the Chiefs always show up in the postseason. They always show up in the Super Bowl. The defense is almost always at its best at this time of year. And I don't think you want to be totally reliant on Saquon Barkley. So I'm going to say about 20 carries feels right, because if the Chiefs start stuffing Saquon and you need to do something else, well, you have that because the Eagles offense is pretty stacked with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. So you do have other guys who can touch the ball and make that offense successful. And the other part of this, I'm going to throw this out there. When Saquon Barkley had more than 20 carries during the 2024 season, including the playoffs, Eagles went 9-2. When it was 20 carries or less, they went 7-1, so they actually had a higher winning percentage when he had 20 carries or less. Believe it or not, it doesn't seem believable. So I'm going to say 20 carries even for Saquon.
Listen, the conclusion is that you need to feed Saquon Barkley a lot in this game, okay? Whether it's 20 or 25, you need to make sure your workhorse gets the ball. Now, for another one, the most important Chief not named Patrick Mahomes, John.
I'm going to go with Isaiah Pacheco. Let's stick with the running backs here. I think if you are the Chiefs, you want to take pressure off of Patrick Mahomes. You want to take pressure off that offensive line so they're not dealing with that Eagles pass rush all game. And the way you do that is by giving Isaiah Pacheco some touches. And if he turns those touches into big gains, that is going to be huge for the Chiefs offense. And you look at what the Eagles struggled at this year. They didn't win games when they couldn't stop the run. They were 12-0 when they held teams under 110 yards, 5-3 when teams were able to rush for 110 or more. So whether it is getting Pacheco or Kareem Hunt, I think it's going to be vital for the Chiefs to get their rushing attack going and make sure Patrick Mahomes doesn't have to carry the offense. We know he can do it, but just take a little bit of pressure off him so he doesn't have to carry the team and get a backache there.
And now we said most important Chief not named Patrick Mahomes. We didn't say Chiefs player, so I'm going on the coaching staff. I'm talking about defensive coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. I think that he's the most important figure outside of Patrick Mahomes. Of course, he needs the players to play well on his defense, but overall, this is going to be a tough task. We were just talking about Saquon Barkley and how unbelievable he can be with a single touch. And Breach, you were even kind of referencing it. This Eagles offense is awesome. You talk about everything that they can do, obviously running the football. You have Jalen Hurts who can also run the football, but of course do a ton of damage with his arm. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. That offensive line is dangerous. Coach Spags is going to need to have a solid game plan here, and you can see it on here. The Kansas City Chiefs haven't had or allowed a 100-yard rusher in any of the playoff games that Coach Spags has been with the organization. They haven't allowed a 100-yard yard rusher since week 1 against Lamar Jackson. So this is one of the tougher run defenses in the NFL, one of the more tightly knit and tightly wound defenses in the league. But I will say this, you go back to that Super Bowl a few years ago against these Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts did very well against Steve Spagnuolo's blitzes. I think he was 10 for 13 in that game. If he's that efficient again, it could be a tough day for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Definitely could. So maybe Spags throws him something that he's never seen before to keep him off of his game. Now, the largest lead in this game, gentlemen, will be blank. Tyler, you go first.
I think it's largely going to be a close game, right? I think at some point you might get a 10-point lead or something like that. If we're ever going to see double digits, I think it's going to just scratch it. I don't think that it's going to be one of those blowouts like we saw in the NFC Championship game. I think it's going to be relatively close. Again, if you tell me that all of a sudden Kansas City, wraps around the double score of going into halftime and coming out of the halftime into the third quarter, where they score a field goal and then score a touchdown in the opening drive of the second half, then that's fine. But ultimately, I think that this is going to be a tight game with the largest lead that you'll see, roughly around 10.
Yeah, I agree with Sully. It sounds like he thinks the Chiefs will have that 10-point lead. I'm going the opposite route and saying the Eagles will be the one with the double-digit lead here. Because, look, it is not a Chiefs Super Bowl unless the Chiefs fall behind by double digits at some point in the game. You look at last year's game against the 49ers, they trailed 10-0 in the first half. Super Bowl 57 against the Eagles, they trailed 24-14 at halftime. Go back to Super Bowl 55 against the Buccaneers, they lost 31-9. And go back to 54 against the 49ers, they were down 20-10 in the third quarter. So every Super Bowl they played with Patrick Mahomes, they have trailed by double digits at some point, as you can see there. So I'm just going to go ahead and assume it happens again, and the Chiefs trail by 10 at some point on Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah, for the Eagles fans' sakes, I'm hoping, or they're probably hoping they don't get up by 10 because, look, we know what Patrick Mahomes can do, so maybe 14 or 17, but you guys are right. Probably more likely in that 10-point, 7-point range. Now, for this next one, I'm going to go first. So the best Super Bowl party food is buffalo chicken dip. There's something so magical about buffalo chicken dip, right? You got the shredded chicken, you got the cream cheese, the hot sauce, you put the chips in, right? The celery, you're feeling good, you're eating great, you're healthy. There is nothing better than buffalo chicken dip on a Super Bowl Sunday. It's hot, it makes you feel good no matter who you're rooting for. So buffalo chicken dip is the best Super Bowl party, best Super Bowl food that you have at a party. Now, Tyler, what you got?
I'm going to co-sign that. I like that a lot. If I was going to go my way, I like sliders. And specifically, you can obviously go, cheeseburger sliders. You can go, chicken sliders, chicken parm sliders. I have a very specific one that I like. It kind of jives with what you like, too. Buffalo chicken sliders, little pepper jack cheese on a Hawaiian bun. You get a little heat, you get a little sweet. That's where I'm at. I like a slider, and it really doesn't matter which way you give it to me.
Yeah, those both sound delicious, but I don't like messy foods on Super Bowl Sunday. It's a two-screen day for me. I might have my cell phone, my laptop, so I need something clean that I can just pop in my mouth. And that, gentlemen, is mini corn dogs. Literally the most delicious snack ever invented. There's a reason why there's corn dogs at every single state fair. And you can carry around 30